Welcome to a lesson with Dr. Powell. We're going to look at a puzzle called a Groupoku. Now, what is this? This is an addition table on letters. So we're adding one letter to another and getting even another letters. For instance, if we take C and D, the table tells us C plus D is equal to B in that order. So first comes C, and then comes D, and then B. Fill out this table. The first step is we identify a letter that's behaving a lot like 0. So when we add by it, it does nothing. Well, notice, see this D, if I go right here, if I go in this row, notice I see another D. That says that D plus E is D. Wait a minute. Adding by E did nothing. D plus E is equal to D. This tells us that E is behaving a lot like 0. Okay, that is a great thing to realize, because what we can do is we can fill out a lot of this table. A plus E, so E is like 0, is just itself A. B plus E is B. C plus E is C. D plus D is itself. E plus E is, well, 0 plus 0 is 0. F plus E is F, because E behaving like 0. And we can go this way too, on the other side. E plus A is A. B, C, D, E, F. We can fill it out that way. That's a great start. That's step number 1 to doing a Groupoku puzzle. Just finding which letter's behaving like 0. Okay, the next step of a Groupoku puzzle is that this is actually a Groupoku inside of a Groupoku. So if I looked at the set ABC, and I added the set ABC to DEF, wait a minute, I'm not just adding numbers, I'm adding a whole set of things. So ABC plus DEF, look, the only things we're going to get in this box are A's, B's, and C's. Okay, so we're only going to get A's, B's, and C's in this block right here, and that's going to help us fill it out using one more idea. So Groupoku inside of Groupoku, and there's going to be no repeats in rows or columns. Now there's no repeats just as if, well, let's just imagine we had a repeat, something like this. Like A plus D, what if it were also, let's see, well, what if it were B? And then what if like A plus F were B? Let's just assume that we had come up with something like that. So we have a B here and a B here. Now let's think about that for a minute. That would tell us that A plus D is B and A plus F is also B. Now, if you're familiar with how addition works, what if, just assuming, what if A is something like 2 and B is something like 5? Think about that. And so you say 2 plus what is 5? Well, of course you would fill in a 3, right? Well, that must mean there's only one thing to fill in. Well, that must mean that D and F are, wait a minute, that must mean that D and F should have been the exact same thing, but they're not. They're different letters. Okay, so that's just a little idea which tells us no repeats. Okay, so just take that as a rule. Take it for granted. We're going to, here, we're just going to go along and remember that we're going to have no repeats. So let's go back and see exactly how we'd fill this out using the no repeat rule. Okay, so we know that we're going to have to only have A's, B's, and C's in here. Now here, what could go here? This cannot be a B. It cannot be an A, because there's no repeats in a row, but there's also no repeats in a column. Okay, so it can't be B and it can't be A, so it must be a C, because you know it belongs to the set ABC. Well, here, using a similar idea, let's see. You know it can't be B or C, so it must be an A. Here, well, BA, it must be a C, and AC must be a B. We just filled out that whole section. So what we're using is Groupoku and a Groupoku and no repetitions. The Groupoku and Groupoku idea is that in each of these shaded portions, only one set of things can go. So in this one, only A, B's, and C's. In this one, only D, E's, and F's. Okay, and why do I call it a Groupoku and a Groupoku? That's because this is really a table of sets of things, like D, E, F plus ABC is ABC right here. ABC plus ABC, I guess, looks like it must be DEF. Do you see why? Because there's an E right here. Okay, so that'll give us some knowledge. We're not done with all the rules of Groupoku. There's another exciting one which we have to use in order to finish off this table. But for now, there's a lot we can fill out. So let's go for it. So here, notice we have an E, D. We must have an F there because it's D, E, F, and no repetition. And okay, F. Great. F, D, E, E, F, D. Awesome. Right here, let's see. A, C, and we're going to have a B there. Okay, what would go here? Well, it can't be A, it can't be B, it must be C, which forces this one to be B, B, A, C, C, B, A. It all works. Okay, we've done awesome so far, right? We've gotten quite a bit of it filled out, but there's one more rule of Groupoku. Now, this rule is actually equivalent to the idea that when you add things together, like 2 plus 3 plus 1, you can actually move the parentheses around. Now, I'm not going to say how it's equivalent, but it is. And it's a nice thing you can actually see on a table, on an addition table. All right, so let's go for it and see what we can do with that. What is this rule and how does it work? So instead of thinking about parentheses, this is actually a pretty simple rule. All we do is we look for rectangles in our picture, rectangles of like boxes. Like for instance here, what I'm going to do is this is an example of a type of rectangle I might be looking for. Something like this. Or maybe something like, you can shift it around. I am strategically, though, choosing a rectangle such that the 0 letter is in a corner. I mean, you could have chosen a rectangle here where this E is in a corner, so you could choose something like this. Now, what's the benefit of doing that, of having an E, so as the 0 letter in the corner? Because there's a special rule that happens. If we go down to the letter that's vertical from the 0 letter, so we don't know what it is right yet, so put a question mark. So the one that's vertical plus the one that's horizontal in that order. So question mark plus C. This is the one that's vertical. Vertical from what? Vertical from the 0 letter in this rectangle, okay? And C is the one that's horizontal. Okay? So we take the vertical plus the horizontal will always be equal to the opposite of the 0 corner. So the 0 corner, the opposite of it is vertical plus horizontal. Works every time. Now, how does that help us? Well, what we kind of think is something plus C. Okay, so C is the horizontal one. Something plus C is going to be B. Let's think C, right? So we're adding things to C, and we go down here and look, we found a B. Ooh. Notice F plus C is B. Oh my goodness, the vertical is F. F plus C is B. That tells us what the question mark is. It's an F. And so we can fill this in right here. and get that it is that this right here is an F. We just filled out, in all these empty spaces, we just found an F there. And by our no repeats rule, tells us that this is E, that must be a D right there in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and erase some things so that we can just keep on going here and think about what's going on. So we're using this rectangle right here. And, okay, and we discovered that, okay, so we know that's an F. Great. And now, no repeats tells us, and we know only E's, F's, and D's go in here, that that's a D. Now we got to fill out the rest of this. It'd be nice if we knew what one of these other ones are. So let's use this trick to maybe help us again. Okay, so let's think. Why don't we, I'm going to use this E again right here. I mean, you can try the other ones, and it may not, give you any information. For instance, what if I use this E, we're down here, and I had a rectangle like that. And I'm going to go ahead and erase this guy right here. Okay, what if I had a rectangle like this? When you think, okay, what's vertical? B, plus what's horizontal? B, should be that. Okay, so we think B plus B. But I don't have it yet, right? That sometimes happens. So you have to be strategic in your choice of your rectangle. That's part of the puzzle. And the more you do it, the more intuition you will have in what kinds of rectangles you should pick. But for now, take my word for it, we're going to use this E again. All right, trial and error, you can work through that. But okay, so, and let's just get one of these other things. Let's think, this E again, I don't know. Maybe we'll do something like that. Let's just try it. Okay, notice I only have one empty spot, one empty corner on the rectangle. And let's see if we can fill it in. Let's see, B plus what is C? That's what we're looking at. Because B is vertical from E, right? From the 0 letter. And we want to find the horizontal one. So we say, okay, so we say B plus what goes there is equal to C. All right, well, let's look at our table and think. B plus what is C? It's F. Look at that. See, B plus F is C. B plus F is C. And B plus, okay, so what question mark, which is right here, because vertical plus horizontal is the opposite, okay? Vertical plus horizontal is opposite. That's the rule we use, all right? So remember that. Vertical plus horizontal is opposite. Vertical was B plus the horizontal, question mark, is the opposite, C. So we look at the table and we say, B plus what is going to give me C? It's F. Okay, so we've done that part. Okay, so let's see if we can use that idea quick here for this rectangle we just formed. And we're going to put an F right there. That's going to help us quite a bit. So EF, what goes here? A D. What goes here? It can't be D or F, so it must be E. So what goes here? A D. Whew. What goes here? An E. What goes here? An F. And we're done. We have just solved a Groupoku puzzle. Thanks for watching.